that time of the week again. It's time for another episode of Bands Across the Tundra. This week we are featuring an artist called Lo Hum. Lo Hum is a musical project from Colin Desha. He's Hawaiian born and now LA based. And his project Lo Hum is psychedelic, more on the like alternative indie side of things, a little bit lo-fi, but more on the alternative side of lo-fi and not the lo-fi hip-hop side. The album that we were reviewing is called Terra Incognita. Yeah, I found Lo Hum, or I stumbled upon Lo Hum, maybe about 6 years ago. I heard Nebraska and Comatose kept popping up on like every algorithm for every streaming service I'm on, so I stumbled upon those songs, and I was like, man, this is really good, really unique, really cool sound. Again, it's got a lot of heavy psychedelic influence. It reminds me of kind of like Tame Impala. I put Tame Impala, Death from Above 1979, especially with this album. Death from Above 1979 is one of my favorite bands of all time. It also reminds me of Islands. Really awesome sound. And the other day I was listening to I just had stuff on shuffle, and a song off of Terra Incognita popped up on my on a playlist. And the song that I heard was Only If You Say So. And I sent it to Alex because I was like, this is a really great song, and we decided to review the album.
Yeah, when Sam showed me this over the weekend, I was immediately like, oh, well, let's do this for the podcast. This is awesome. And then I went and I looked up them on Apple Music, and I noticed in my library I already had them in there. And I had heard the song Strange Love, and what else did I have? I had the Lo Hum EP, Room to Breathe album. So yeah, I've heard them before, and they're awesome. So it's really cool to hear this new album from them, and I really like the evolution of the sound and really what they're doing here with this one.
So for overall sound of the album, I wrote, it's synthy, it's fuzzy, it's got these really cool, heavy, driving bass riffs, funky, groovy guitar lines.
I love that they do this really messy guitar tone in their music, but in this one they really, really leaned into it, and it's a complete contrast from the rest of the music, which is what makes it fit so perfectly.
The vocals are incredibly pleasing to the ear, in my opinion. He just has a really, really good voice.
Overall, I felt like this album just had really great grooves. The drums were super on point. They sound really cool. The bass is really good. And then just really interesting guitar tones that I want to get into, and just this very kind of 80s sounding synths with like a lot of effects on them. I also felt like all the background vocals on this, they have purpose. They're not just more layers or more doubling, and there is layers and doubling, but all the background vocals, they have a purpose. They're doing something melodic in the song other than just following the vocals, the lead vocal line.
My album favorites were Sultry.
I would definitely say overall Sultry was definitely my jam.
It had this is a song that it was early on in the album, and I listened to it and I was like, man, this song has a lot of elements that remind me of Death from Above 1979. Again, a lot of really like fuzzy, heavy bass lines in the song. And then I realized that Lo Hum is also on Last Gang Records, and so is Death from Above 1979, so that's a pretty interesting coincidence.
I love like the synth work happening on the pre-chorus. There's like almost a little bit of like a Nine Inch Nails vibe at some point. Sultry is also just a great break from how just thick the arrangements are in this album.
Another song off, I mentioned the first song, or the song that I had heard off this album was Only If You Say So. That, if you listen to one song first off of this album, I would recommend that be the first song that you listen to. It's so cool. It starts with these really cool layered like electronic tracks, and then it drops and when it drops, it goes into these really cool, heavy stringed instrument riffs. It's just super catchy and fun, and then it's got around 3 minutes and 12 seconds, the song switches up towards like on the last part of the song, and it just does this crazy change up, and it's really good. The vocal effects on there are really, really well done. It's just a really cool track. There's so much going, there's a lot of layering and a lot of depth to it, and yeah, it's just a really fun, interesting listen. Another song that I really liked on there was Your Love. Your Love was the closer on the album, and it made for a really good closing track. It's more of an acoustic singer-songwriter vibe, oddly enough, but it still retains those, like, the elements and the theme of the album. I'd say that the album flows really well too. It definitely feels like there's more of a theme to the album rather than it just being kind of like a random collection of tracks, which is always really cool. Overall, I was incredibly impressed with this album. It's a really fun listen, but musically, like, there's a lot of depth to it. I think he's a really good lyricist too, so you get a lot from the lyrics, and yeah, it's got this kind of dark vibe to it. Really good. Really, I highly recommend checking it out. Go look it up on any of your major streaming platforms. Give it some love, because yeah, this album, I was really impressed with it, and it definitely deserves a listen. If you do go and listen to it, comment. Let us know what you think about it. We would love to hear your feedback.
Make sure to check out at Mr. Igloo Band on Instagram and TikTok, YouTube. We are on Bandcamp, and our music is also on all platforms. Make sure to like and subscribe and share with a friend.
Stay frosty.